रमेश, मैं तुम्हारे बच्चे की माँ बनने वाली हूँ। चलो जल्दी प्री स्कूल में बेबी का नाम एनरोल करवा लेते हैं। शादी तो होती रहेगी, लेकिन अगर स्कूल में सीट्स फुल हो गए तो ये बच्चा ऑनलाइन ट्रोलर बन के रह जाएगा। Kareena Kapoor Khan and you are listening to my brand new unapologetic show, Dabur Amla, What Women Want, या जिसे शॉर्ट में मैं WWW भी कहती हूँ। लेकिन आज यहाँ WWW नहीं, WWE होने वाला है, क्योंकि when you're a mom with kids, then wrestling is inevitable in your home. But without these little monsters, life wouldn't be the same. So today we're talking about what women want when it comes to being a mother. वैसे let me tell you, according to Bollywood standards, माँ 3 types की होती है. One is your सूरज बरजात्या वाली माँ, where she teaches her kids to be sanskari. Second is your Karan Johar mummy, जहाँ she grooms her kid to be very, very stylish. और number 3 पर है the Anurag Kashyap mom, where she lets her kids do whatever the hell she wants. But on today's show, I'll tell you about the 4th and 5th kind of moms, the celebrity and non-celebrity kind of moms. और मेरी आज की guest has recently delivered 2 बच्चे, जिसमें से एक है मेरी super cute niece इनाया और दूसरी है एक 256 page book. Please welcome the multi-talented Soha Ali Khan Patori. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. I know you're feeling a bit awkward.
Very awkward to be meeting you and having a chat in a forum like this.
I think Soha's just used to being in my
pajamas,
lounging in my house and chatting with your brother around.
Yeah, not being so dressed up also.
So how much credit of you being a good mother goes to Kunal?
We come from very different backgrounds. The way that he was brought up and the way that I was brought up are totally different. I was also brought up where, you know, my mother was working, where we did have a nanny, he didn't have a nanny, you know, so he may not agree with a lot of things, but we've compromised on a lot of things. And he's given me the freedom, which I know he has an opinion on things on, but he has allowed me to exercise it. Of course,
milk being one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Soya milk or dairy, right?
Yeah. So, and also lots of things in terms of her diet. In terms of the fact that, you know, also we don't need to change things up all the time. She doesn't need to constantly go to 100 different things and be entertained.
Absolutely.
You know, he'd say we grew up, you know, in 2 rooms and we would be fine.
We'd be like just, you know, playing on the floor.
You don't have to give her different vegetables every day. You know, like whatever. Like I want to do the best for her. There are times when he says, you know, I don't understand, like this, going to play dates and all he still feels is like a woman's job. He'll always ask me, you know, how many husbands were there, how many fathers were there? And sometimes there are, like even the play group that I take Inaya to and the preschool that she goes to, there are fathers who go there. But, you know, he'll also constantly not applaud Inaya. If she's doing something, I'm constantly like, wow, that's amazing. She's drawn a line, it's amazing. She stood up, it's amazing. And this child gets used to a lot of applause and a lot of, you know, attention. Right. Sometimes Kunal will just ignore Inaya. And I'll be like, you know, she's looking for you. Give her attention.
Give her attention.
He says, I don't need to, you know. It's normal for a child to be around. She can't be the center of attention at all times.
But I think even Saif is very much like that.
So I think maybe, I don't know if that's a...
So you're balancing it out. He kind of also...
I know that she loves being on swings. And I said, you know, I want to get her a swing. And that's where he said, okay, look, like I don't want her to have everything. Even if you can afford it,
of course,
she should also look forward to going to Taimur's house because he has a swing.
Exactly.
It has to be something that she knows that she can't have
that's
all
very
the time.
right.
And, you know, a little perspective like that is also helpful for me.
Kunal's attitude is very much like Saif's, even though आप लोग दोनों भाई बहन हो और similar background से है, but I think Saif, because he's had his fair share of, you know, actually working in the industry at such a young age and doing everything also on his own, that I think even his attitude is a lot like that.
I think so.
He always constantly fires me. He's like, what is the need to constantly entertain your child? Why does it have to be that he has to go out every day?
And he must learn how to entertain himself. And you know, also be okay with one thing. Otherwise, they're constantly, then they'll require that stimulation.
So what is the role of your nanny in helping you?
So we need good staff.
Absolutely.
I know that not everyone can afford nurses, you know, not everyone can afford nannies also, but you can, once the child is of a certain age, just somebody who's nurturing, somebody who perhaps has had children of their own, or just strikes a good bond with the child. In fact, when we were born, my father was a professional athlete, so he stopped working, you know, at a certain age. And my mother, we would sit at home or be at school. We'd come home from school and my mother would be away shooting. And my father would be at home, you know, either looking after us, being a responsible person around. So for us, it was never odd to have a stay-at-home father and a working mother.
Yeah. So what is something that you learned about parenting from your parents that now you're applying to Inaya?
I think I think when it comes to Abba, he never said aise karo, vaise karo. He was the kind of person who would just live his life and believed that you should absorb, you should see and imbibe instead of saying. Like there's more value in actions. Actions speak louder than words. So I don't remember him ever saying, you know, I want you to do this, or I feel you should do this. If he said, you should not raise your voice, he wouldn't say that. I just never in my whole life ever heard him raise his voice. And I understood, it's not cool to raise your voice as a result.
Didn't.
Yeah, because he didn't. From Amma, I think it was, again, the fact that it's okay to be a working parent and to be a working mother. And from a young age, of course, she worked a lot more with Bhai. She worked a lot more with my elder sister, Sabah. With me, she was more involved, perhaps, in my upbringing. But still, she did Mississippi Masala. She went away for 2 months, you know, and I remember missing her terribly, and I used to write letters to her every day. But sometimes she missed a birthday also of mine. And she said, it's okay, I know it's your birthday, but we'll celebrate it when I'm there. And it's just a day at the end of the day, and you understand that that's something that's important to her. And I never held it against her. We have a really close relationship, you know, so I think that that's probably the two things that I learned.
So Soha, जब हम बड़े हो रहे थे, there was no social media, no Instagram, no paparazzi, mobile phones नहीं थे. And of course now Inaya and Taimur are growing up in the digital age. In the age where they're being hounded by the paparazzi. So I know that as a parent, I'm extremely worried. What is your take on Inaya being photographed?
Firstly, I think Taimur is perhaps, it's a more extreme case than Inaya. I know that he's often followed to, you know, wherever he goes actually. And with Inaya, it's a little less so, but it's still worrying.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's still worrying. I don't know what it is about these particular children, or whether it's children suddenly in general, star children, celeb children, that, you know, people have taken an interest in. But it is, I'm sure, it's going to take away from their innocence. And I remember a huge part of my childhood being private, things that I did that nobody knew about. And I think you're entitled to that. Every child wants, I think, especially in high school and school and when they're young, they don't want to stand out. They don't want to be different. They want to belong. And it can be tough growing up. You want acceptance, you want friends. And if people think you're different, they tend to keep you at an arm's length.
So that is extremely terrifying.
It is very terrifying.
Would you say that your bond with Kunal has become closer after Inaya's birth?
I think it changes. You know, your relationship with your husband changes. And there's a rocky period also where you realize, and because we spoil each other so much, Kunal and I, we have been very close, you know, for like almost 11 years.
I know, it's just been, it's just been you and...
And we've been, you know, in a house where it's just him and me. We've gone on holidays at the drop of a hat. So it's very, now suddenly, to have a third person in our life that we have to look after.
You're sharing your life with, you know, someone else.
So it takes time to adjust to that. And both of us feel equally jealous, you know. If he's with her, it's an odd thing where, you know, I know when I'm with her, he's also understanding that that's my child, and I'm happy that she's with her, but I also want my wife to be my wife.
And be just with me.
So to manage that is
you're walking a tight-rope.
You are, all the time. Women are constantly
doing
mothers, daughters, sisters, wives, you know, it's many hats many times.
But mere saath, I think Saif is just like, he's just obsessed. He's like, okay, fine, I have to push him out. I have to tell him, like, today, wo bhut ja rahe the shoot ke liye. And I had to tell him, he was like, no, cancel the shoot, I can't go, I can't leave Taimur. I'm like, you have to go to work. And I have to tell him that I want to be with you also now, sometimes alone, you know.
So, of course. But I can see that in him, and he's so, you know, so in love with spending time with Taimur. So many times we've organized play dates as well. And, you know, I'll get a phone call saying that, you know, Taimur can't come because he's hanging out with Sir. So
like, oh God. Okay. Lastly, what would you like to say to those people who shame us all celeb moms?
People do feel a certain way, and you can't block that out. I'm not saying that you have to engage with it, but you have to be aware that things exist. In terms of shaming and trolling, sometimes it's just people looking for attention, and some things need to be ignored, some things need to be engaged with, and often I've seen people be converted. Sometimes you can actually have a rational discussion with someone if they're open to changing their points of views. And you cannot please everyone. So just please yourself.
I think that's absolutely amazing, Soha, आपने जो बात कही अभी, because my show, What Women Want, is all about being unapologetically awesome, and I think you have actually been one of my best guests.
Ooh, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, and it's been such a candid, amazing conversation, lovely insight. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you.